Hi, I'm Thu. I'm a member here at Great Expectations, and I'm here to share with you Missingness Data Assistant. If you could click the next slide. Thank you. So what is this? It generates an expectation suite given a batch request. It expects that the data passed in the batch request is representative of your data, and it'll do a bunch of different calculations and stuff to generate some expectations for you. The expectations that are generated from the Missingness Data Assistant are just expect column values to be null or expect column values to not be null. A simplified look at the algorithm is given a batch request with multiple batches of data, it's going to set the expectation such that 97.5% of the batches would pass that expectation. Using a single batch, it just uses some simple rules to say, okay, the data is mostly null, let's expect it to be null. If the data is very volatile, it's not going to generate any expectation for that column. And this is one of the first of these smaller data assistants that we want to provide, and we'll want to add more. There's also the ability for you to add your own data assistants if you wanted. And if you could click the next slide.
This is a demo of the Missingness Data Assistant. To run the data assistant, I'm first going to import Great Expectations and get my context. I'll tell Great Expectations where to get my data by defining a data source. In this case, I want to grab it from my file system and I pass it in a directory. I then define my data asset. And I'm saying, grab file names with this format, but I also want to kind of create these variables for my batches, year and month. I then grab my batch requests to run the data assistant. If there are columns that you want to exclude, you can pass them in using exclude column names, and they won't be ran for the Missingness Data Assistant. To run the data assistant, I can go context.assistance.missingness.run, passing in the batch requests and then the column names that I wanted to exclude. Now it's generating metrics and building the expectations. I can then view the generated expectations by using show expectations by expectation type. Here I can see it generated 4 expectations, expecting the column values not to be null. Mostly is set to 1, which means 100% of column values should not be null. I can then view the metrics that were computed and used to generate the expectations using plot metrics. All right, so let's view this for something that we generated an expectation for. We'll take a look at total amount. So we see for total amount that there's 10,000 rows and 10,000 times where the value was not null. Let's look at something that we didn't generate an expectation for. Let's look at surcharge amount or congestion surcharge amount. So I see that a bunch of the batches have the values as null, and a bunch of them don't have values that are null. So these are non-null values. These are null values. So I didn't generate an expectation for that. So if I'm happy with the expectations, I can save it to an expectation suite, setting a name, and then saving it to my contacts. If I want to verify that it works, or if I want to run this expectation on some of the data, I can pass in a batch request an expectation suite name. This will run on the latest batch within that batch request. And I give my run a run name. So now I can build my data docs and view my data docs. And I see that it ran on the latest batch within that batch request. Clicking on here, I can see what was ran, what was successful, what failed, what the observed values are. In this case, we expect the values never to be null, and we observed that 100% of the values were not null. Going back, I can view my expectation suite under expectation suites. And here we have the expectation suite that we had generated.
Thanks all for watching that. We're very excited to share this with you, and we invite you all to play with it and give us feedback. Share it in our Discord, share it in our Slack. We look forward to that, and we'll be taking your feedback into account in our next iterations. There are a couple things that are coming up for the Missingness Data Assistant. One thing that we think could use a lot of love is the visualizations that come after you get the expectation suite. We want to make sure that these visualizations and information give you insight into why we're recommending specific expectations. So you can make the decision if you want to modify or add those to your expectation suite. And the second thing that's upcoming is adding the ability to trigger the Missingness Data Assistant from the cloud product. And I'll pass the mic back to Habichat.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Thu. That was super exciting. We're really excited to see this launch of the Missingness Data Assistant. Please give it a try. If you guys have any questions, ping us, let us know. We'd love to hear feedback as to how we can improve this product. So thank you again for presenting.